If the New York Giants are serious about competing in the NFC East this season, they need to find a way to go out there and add more talented football players to this roster. With Darren Waller retiring, the New York Giants now have $11.7 million in cap space, and if they restructure left tackle Andrew Thomas, they would add another $14.8 million in cap space, and they have plenty of money to go out and sign difference makers in free agency. I'm going to tell you the one free agent the New York Giants need to sign today if they want to be for real this season. But first, it is competition month here at Chat Sports. In the month of June, all 25 plus of our NFL channels are in a subscriber battle. Vikings Now is in the number 1 spot, with Giants Now in the 6th spot. I want to catch him. I know Giants fans are proud. So if you love the Giants and you want free, informative, entertaining updates every day, subscribe to the channel and help Giants Now be the best NFL channel at Chat Sports. You're watching Giants Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. In today's video, we're talking about a player the New York Giants need to go out and sign if they actually want to be a serious football team this season. I like what the Giants did in free agency by signing Jon Runyan and bringing in Jermaine Illuminor. But since those signings, the path that the Giants have gone down to insert them into their offense just really doesn't make any sense. But before we dive into that, I want to talk about what Pro Football Focus said. They had the New York Giants rated as the second worst roster in the NFL after the Giants just picked 6th in the NFL draft just a couple of months ago. It doesn't take anybody with really a lot of football IQ to understand and look at on paper, this Giants football team lacks top-end talent. They are not deep, and as currently constructed, they are one of the worst teams in the National Football League, and more specifically, the offensive line. I am absolutely worried about the offensive line that Joe Schoen, in year 3 as the general manager, has built. His number 1 job upon becoming the general manager for this football team was to fix the offensive line. He has not hit on a single draft pick. He missed on Mark Lewinsky, and the jury is still out on Jon Runyan and Jermaine Illuminor. This is expected to be, though, the offensive line for the New York Giants when we do get to week 1. Andrew Thomas at left tackle, Jermaine Illuminor at left guard, John Michael Schmitz at center, Jon Runyan at right guard with Evan Neal at right tackle. Joshua Ezeudu, the third-year player out of North Carolina, mid-round draft pick, he has only been training as a tackle in the offseason programs with the New York Giants. You go out and sign 2 veterans, and Aaron Stinnie and Austin Schlottman. You still got Marcus McKethan. Nelson is injured. Miles is a question mark. And there are just question marks all over this Giants offensive line for me after giving up 85 sacks last season. Like I said at the top of the show, I am a fan of bringing in Jermaine Illuminor. I know he's a good football player at right tackle. I like the addition of Jon Runyan. I like what he's done in the NFL as a left guard. But the Giants are playing Jermaine Illuminor at left guard, who has 11 snaps in his NFL career at left guard. And they're going to play Jermaine Illuminor Jon Runyan at right guard, even though he said he's more comfortable playing left guard. And they're doing all of this because of Evan Neal. And I get it. Use the number 7 overall pick on him. It's only year 3. You're going to try to do everything you can to make it a spot for him to be successful. But I'm a man that believes in the best guy should play. Brian Daboll should believe in that. Joe Schoen should believe in that, especially with the heat of both of their seats heating up. So I went back and looked at the last 2 years. Every game Jermaine Illuminor has played at right tackle and Evan Neal. In 31 games played at right tackle for Illuminor compared to 20 games played at right tackle for Evan Neal, they've given up the same amount of sacks. Illuminor's given up half the amount of QB hits, almost half the amount of QB hurries, 25 less QB pressures, and Illuminor in 11 more games only has 2 more penalties. The best man should play. And the best right tackle on this football team is Jermaine Illuminor, not Evan Neal. You signed him for what he can do as a right tackle. Why is he playing left guard? He's never done that. He's played there 11 snaps in his 7-year career in the NFL. He has 1,861 snaps at right tackle. Make it make sense. Before I tell you the free agent the Giants need to go out and sign, I want you to weigh in the comment section for me. Your confidence level in the Giants O-line, scale it from 1 to 10. Connor Williams, the center for the Miami Dolphins and formerly the left guard of the Dallas Cowboys, is the perfect player for the New York Giants to go out and sign. 1, to make this offensive line better, but 2, if you want to give Evan Neal the first couple games of the season to prove or not prove that he can play right tackle, Connor Williams is the perfect player to sign. Let me explain. 1, he's a really good football player. And when you look at what he's done at center for the Miami Dolphins in the last 2 years, it's nothing but productive, nothing but productivity. 78.2 overall PFF grade in 2022. Bounces up to 86.5 the next year. One of the best run-blocking interior offensive linemen in the National Football League. The guy in 2 seasons has allowed 4 sacks. He is a damn good football player, and he would come in my opinion, to be the second best offensive lineman on this team. But it's not just the fact that he could play center. He's also played guard in his career. It's where he got started, being drafted out of Texas and playing for the Dallas Cowboys, that left guard position. In his last 2 years before signing with the Miami Dolphins in free agency in spring of 2022, the dude was really good at left guard. A 76 overall PFF grade and a run block and pass block grade of 76 plus in 2021. And then in 2020, he was 71.2 overall grade, a 70.8, and a 66.6 when it comes to run blocking and pass blocking. The thing that makes him perfect, though, is, 1, he's probably a little bit cheaper right now because he is coming off that torn ACL. In fact, coming off a torn ACL, which might sound crazy to say, would actually make him even more of a better fit for the Giants because he may or may not be ready to go week 1. And if he is, as he did tear that ACL in week 14, he may not be ready to go by week 2 or week 3, which means you could try Evan Neal at right tackle. If he stinks, you bounce Illuminor out there, you move Runyon to left guard, or you keep him at right guard, and then you play Connor Williams at left guard. But it sounds like he even might be ready to go for week 1. Adam Schefter earlier this week says former Cowboys and Dolphins free agent center Connor Williams, who is coming off season-ending surgery, expects to be ready for the start of the season and is in discussion with multiple teams about where to play in 2024. He plans to pick his new team before training camp begins. So let's say worst case scenario, even though it sounds like he will be ready. Let's say worst case scenario, right? Connor Williams is not ready to play football until week 4. That means you get to start the season with Evan Neal at right tackle and have an actual plan for when and if he struggles, which would be this offensive line. Jermaine Illuminor at right tackle, John Runyon at right guard, John Michael Schmitz at center, Connor Williams at left guard, and Andrew Thomas at left tackle. That is what a good offensive line looks like. That is a makeover that they needed after giving up 85 sacks last season. That is an offensive line that people will look at, respect, and say, you know what? Joe Schoen did a pretty good job of fixing this offensive line in 3 years. Also, Connor Williams, it's not like he's an older player. He's someone who I think is only going to continue to get better and better in this league as he's just 27 years old. My main thought, though, on this whole thing is, can the Giants continue to wait on Evan Neal? Not even the Giants. Can Joe Schoen? Can Brian Daboll? If the Giants are picking inside the top 10 again, I will be talking potentially about firing Brian Daboll because that is what might just come. And for Joe Schoen, if you once again are picking inside the top 10, which would be 3 times, not good. I know those picks came from Dave Gettleman, but you turned a 5th overall pick and a 7th overall pick into only one good football player. And I understand the way the draft works. But man, Evan Neal. I know a lot of people liked him. I liked him. I graded an A overall. But I didn't pick him. And my job's not dependent on him being successful. Joe Schoen's is. And you know what? Evan Neal hasn't done enough to secure Joe Schoen any really comfortability or security as a general manager. You see the grades on screen. You see the stats. This guy's given up 69 pressures in 20 games. 69 pressures in 20 games. On top of the fact of him being bad, he called out Giants fans. I'm not sure he knows what he did. And he also hasn't played a full season yet. In fact, he hasn't played more than 13 games yet in a season. There's 17 games. I want Evan Neal to be great. I want Evan Neal to be great. I want him to be that player that we thought we were getting when he came out of Alabama at that right tackle position. But it's not what I want. The Giants, Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll, they need Evan Neal to be productive. I don't know if he ever will be. Because you know what? When you turn on the stove, it gets hot if you pay your gas bill or electricity, whatever kind of stove you got. It's hot. I don't need to touch it to know it's hot. And I don't need to see Evan Neal play football again this season to know that he is at best a below average right tackle. I don't need to see anymore. On top of all of that, he's not even ready to practice. So how is he going to get better? His offseason was not an offseason. He had ankle surgery in January. It's almost July 4th, and he's still not ready to practice. And he might have even suffered a setback injury. Pat Leonard of the New York Daily News tweeted this out at the beginning of OTAs or right before minicamp. He said, Giants right tackle Evan Neal is on the bike and on the side. Didn't even stretch with or break down with the team at the start of practice today from what I could see. He is coming off ankle surgery, but he has been on the field for early periods this spring and then working on the side during team drills and prior OTAs. Why is his workload being cut as he continues to rehab? Weird. Dan Duggan of The Athletic. Daboll said right tackle Evan Neal won't participate in minicamp. Daboll said they've backed off Neal, who underwent ankle surgery in January. We haven't seen Neal take any team reps this spring. Unclear if Neal suffered a setback to prompt the backing off from during the position drills we saw him do earlier this spring. So he wasn't ready to even be a full participant in team drills. And then something happened to where he couldn't even practice at all. Oh, man. Overall, the offensive line for the New York Giants, I've run out of optimism for it. It's been year after year after year of I've been told Giants improved in the offseason. You know what? I actually think they did improve this offseason. Going out and signing Illuminor and Runyon and Stinney and Schlottman. But Joe Schoen doesn't deserve the benefit of the doubt for me after giving up 85 sacks last year and being a terrible offensive line his first season. Missing on Mark Lewinsky, missing on Evan Neal, missing on Josh Ezeudu, missing on Marcus McKeithen. I don't think he missed on John Michael Schmitz, but it's definitely not good that a 24-year-old center wasn't able to produce in his first year in the NFL. Look, I want them to be great because nothing else matters until you fix the offensive line. And I'm not so sure that they have, but signing a guy like Connor Williams puts you in a much better position to be successful compared to where you are at right now. Make sure you are following me over on social media. If you want to talk more about the offensive line, hit me up over there at @MarshallGreen_, at @MarshallGreen_, Twitter, IG, hit me up. And please, please be better on the offensive line this year.